Ever since I was young, I was a huge fan of the X-Men. From starting with the comic books, to going to the films, to the cartoon shows, to the action figures, all of it. I couldn't get enough of the Merry Mutants. Ever since the Fox acquisition by Disney, fans like myself have been trying to figure out, where are the X-Men going to come from? What's going to happen to them? I've got some ideas. Brad Pencils presents the MCU X-Men. We've got the cast, we've got the universe, now for the story. So my story is going to be focusing closely on Cyclops and Jean. Those two are going to be the main characters because of what the theme is actually all about. The theme is all about control. How the characters have to keep in control, or somehow they have to deal with being out of control and the consequences that come from these actions. In developing the story, I stuck to these three criteria: an easy, accessible plot, differentiating from the past iterations, and a new and different genre. With those three criteria, I think I was able to find the perfect story that could fit for this new iteration of the X-Men.
Len Wein and Dave Cockrum were tasked with bringing the X-Men into a whole new generation. With an international cast, it was vastly different from what was done beforehand. And what they were able to mold into this giant size issue has been the benchmark for all future X-Men titles that's ever been done since this debut. It's not difficult to see the parallels from what Marvel was doing back in the 70s to what the MCU could be doing now with this cast of characters now newly acquired.
Marvel tends to play it safe with their intro films. Even though we've watched X-Men films for the past 2 decades, this is the first time we're going to see them in the MCU and with the MCU audience.
Take Spider-Man Homecoming, for example. Marvel introduced their version of Peter Parker to their audience, setting him in familiar surroundings, but with their own twist to not be too recognized to the past films. With giant-sized X-Men, Marvel can do the same thing with the characters we've seen before. Spider-Man Homecoming touched briefly on some of the origin stuff that we've already seen in past films. It didn't get bogged down by it, just like E's for Extinction or House of X are great jumping on points for comic fans. It's not necessarily the best plot to be able to put into a movie. They're just a little bit too ambitious for audiences. We've seen space adventures with the Guardians of the Galaxy, political thrillers with Captain America and the Winter Soldier, and we've been given the mystical epic of Doctor Strange.
But we've never seen Marvel do a monster disaster movie yet. The plot is basically a rescue mission like a lot of disaster movies we've seen in the past, but this time dealing with superheroes.
We fade up to show this fog starting to lift over a body of water, and we get to see this mysterious exotic island appear. It looks very foreign, a lot different than a lot of islands that we see. A lot of it looks a little bit mysterious as there's some different kind of animals flying about the sky. And then we get into the inside of the jungle and we start to see some trees rustling. And we see frantic feet running from the inside the island, trying to run away from something. There's 2 pairs are trying to get away from whatever's inside the jungle as they try to crawl and run to escape whatever's coming. Whatever's coming, it's coming in fast. So these 2 have to move. And they got to move super quick through this really hefty, dense jungle. We find out that it is a man in glasses and a redhead as they jump off a waterfall into the water to escape whatever's chasing them. When they jump off the waterfall, they make it to the beach where there's a whole bunch of debris just laying on the ground, washing ashore. And what they were able to do is able to create some sort of a raft with some of that debris. But as they get there, the island starts to attack them with bursts of vines and sand bust coming through, but they're able to protect themselves through some telekinetic shields. But they're still able to catch them, and as some of the island starts to attack, they are starting to get trapped and are getting dragged back into the jungle. But this is the chance for these two to act, and one of them shows their hand. Jean Grey uses her telekinetic powers to shove her partner back into the island as the island takes her away from the water. This enrages her partner as he opens his eyes and shoots a powerful optic blast at the island, revealing that this is Cyclops and these are the members of the X-Men. We come back to what looks to be inside of an ER or hospital room. Don't know what's going on as we're seeing through the point of view of the only survivor of the island. That tends to be Cyclops. He's a little bit disoriented. He doesn't know how he ended up getting there, but it looks like he was able to get off the island. And the nurse informs them that they were a little bit scared about how dicey it was for him to get back. But of course, Cyclops knows that Jean is still back on the island, so he is able to get himself out of there and escapes and makes a dash to get out of the hospital. But of course, this guy is of interest to people, so they are able to get security out there to try and figure out what's going on and stop him from escaping. But of course, this is Cyclops of the X-Men. He is very well trained and knows how to get out of the jam when he needs to. So as he's escaping and people are coming after him, he's able to get away scot-free, no pun intended, while other people are trying to get after him. But of course, as he's getting closer and closer to escaping, and he's able to blend in with the crowd, he is met by someone he wasn't expecting at all. Nick Fury. So at this time, Cyclops is able to hear everything that he has missed over the past couple of years when he's been stuck on that island. All this stuff that happened with the Avengers, with the Snap, what happened to Xavier, all of it. He's been unaware that the world has passed them by, and that that everything he knows has been changed and altered forever. But now that Fury's been able to tell Cyclops what's been going on here and back on the mainland, it's now Cyclops' turn to tell him what happened on that island. So he explains that Xavier sent them out on a mission to this island to find this mutant, and when the team got there, it wasn't what they expected, as whatever was on that island began to attack them, and he's able to take the rest of the mutants from them except for Cyclops and Jean, and they were able to survive together all this time alone, being able to use their powers to fend off whatever was attacking them. With all the history with Nick Fury and the X-Men, he basically tells Cyclops that he cannot help them in any kind of official way, that Cyclops is on his own, but he is able to kind of give him a little bit of a help with a list of people who can help him that Xavier chose himself, and a little bit of transportation to get him to where he needs to go in order to help his team. Back on Krakoa Island, Jean wakes up from the initial blast of Cyclops from when he escaped the island. When she wakes up, she's able to get a faint signal from the rest of the X-Men through a psychic rapport, and that brings her to her new mission. She has to locate the other X-Men and get them ready for when Cyclops comes to rescue them in the meantime. So she goes off, gets her location, and flies off to rescue. With his new set of wheels, Cyclops is now on to his first target, and that is someplace up in Canada, where he's going to the government facility called Department H. Now, if you know from the comics, this is a pretty important place. He gets some meetings with some government officials to try and find the one guy he is here to look for. Someone who is durable and strong and who has a great tracker. That guy is Wolverine. Now, he doesn't know much about this guy other than for what he has been told from Fury and from the files. But we already know that Wolverine is a little bit of a grump. He's got some, pretty decent words for Cyclops, thinking that he's going to take orders from some kid. But when the Department H people say that he is not allowed to go anywhere, that's when he goes a little bit off hinge. He wants to go where the action is, and nobody is going to tell him where to go and what to do. And the next stop on the journey is the Munich Circus, where their next target is this flamboyant, swashbuckling acrobat with some unique abilities. They are introduced to the incredible Nightcrawler, who can do great feats of acrobatics and flips and dives, whole best of stuff. And the one cool thing that is really beneficial to them is the chance to teleport. But at the end of the show, it's back to being alone and being isolated from the rest of the crew. And so with Cyclops noticing this, he can actually offer Nightcrawler the chance to be part of a team, to be part of a family instead of being an outcast. And in order for that, Nightcrawler jumps at the chance to be able to be accepted for who he is and not just some circus act or just some prop in a show. The next stop, we go to Mother Russia, where the gang actually gets up with a Russian mob in the middle of some not so nice dealings. When Cyclops, Nightcrawler, and Wolverine find the group, they actually get a little bit spooked and start shooting at each other. Things get a little bit hectic, and they all jump for cover, except for one bodyguard who turns out to be Pyotr Rasputin Colossus, with bullets bouncing off and a whole bunch of mayhem going on. One of the bodyguards and all the rest of the mob actually get caught in the crossfire, and a lot of mayhem goes about. And with not wanting to be part of the violence anymore, he kind of jumps at the chance to join the X-Men. The final stop is now to Africa, where they get to meet a very powerful mutant who's able to control the weather. We all know that is Storm. She is in the process of starting to water the lands that her tribe is actually part of, and trying to get some water into the places where it needs to be. Doing her duty as this clan's leader. But of course, she doesn't have the kind of control that we know Storm to have. So as she's starting to develop more of her powers, it goes a little bit haywire. Lightning starts striking stones and starting causing fires in the tribe. In the middle of the storm come the X-Men and the X-Jet. So they see all the destruction that Storm is causing, and they know they have to be able to get down there in order to save the people and to save Storm before anything else goes wrong. And with now the tribe being in trouble, the X-Men have to act fast in order to stop Storm from all of this destruction. And the only one who can get there is Nightcrawler. He is able to talk her down and calm her enough for the storm and the wind and the lightning to kind of dissipate, and that the people can actually get a hold of themselves and be able to get out of the cover and out of the danger that Storm has brought. And this is the first time that Storm has actually seen someone of Nightcrawler's appearance, and with Nightcrawler, this is the first time he's actually ever seen someone with that kind of power and that kind of godlike abilities that is not afraid of him. And this is a chance that Cyclops makes an offer to Storm, is that if she comes with them, she can actually help get her powers developed so that she can come back and be a proper goddess to her tribe and not be able to cause this kind of calamity. And the new X-Men have finally been formed, with now Colossus, Storm, Nightcrawler, Wolverine. By his side, Cyclops has the chance he can go to rescue the rest of the X-Men.
With the team now assembled, they're on their way to Krakoa Island. But without an actual destination or location of the island, the team is actually a little bit weary on what the hell this mission is all about.
basically what Cyclops has told them is that he's following on his instincts on how he got there in the first place and following the psychic connection that he was able to make with Jean. Cyclops wants to do a quick snatch and grab and get the members of the X-Men off the island and back onto the ship as quickly as possible. But with a group of novices that have never teamed together, this seems like a lot to ask for. And especially with the most vocal of the team, Wolverine, now questioning Cyclops' leadership. He doesn't think that this kid can actually lead them into any kind of a mission that's going to be successful. And of course, Cyclops bulks back with showing that he is capable of whatever this mission needs in order to save his friends. And this is starting to boil over pretty bad. Especially since this is the first time any of these guys have ever done any kind of mission like this. When suddenly the Blackbird gets hit, and they don't know what exactly is going on because they don't think Krakoa has any weapons, except it does. When a whole bunch of these flying lizard creatures starts attacking the X-Jet, when makes the team actually have to abandon ship before anything happens with them. And this actually puts Wolverine into action when he starts to attack some of these animals and try to divert their animals' attention to him instead of the rest of the team so they can land properly and safely. Even though it's just him with a swarm of these buzzards, he actually gets a little bit knocked out and he falls right into the island. And with the ship now veering off course, the team is now left floating up in the air. Fortunately, Nightcrawler and Storm was able to get the rest of the team to land safely, but unfortunately, they don't see Wolverine there, and they think that he has now perished. But of course, they're not going to be alone for very long when the inhabitants of Krakoa Island get earful that the X-Men have now landed. So now there's a new meal on the dinner table. So the X-Men that are left are now scrambling to try and fight off whatever they can in order to survive. And now you have Nightcrawler and Colossus all scrambling to fight. And you have Storm just throwing lightning and wind at things that she doesn't quite understand. So Cyclops has to take control and say, stop fighting and follow me and I'll get you out safe. Remember, he's been on this island for many years, so he knows how to handle these creatures and knows how to get out. So he's able to get himself and the team out of there safely and get all those creatures to stop following them and get them to a certain spot in order to bake camp for the night. With the rest of the team now calm and with those animals off their trail, Cyclops is able to put a little bit of faith into them. He's told them that he's never been positive enough to be able to lead the team. He always felt that Jean was the one who could lead them. And with the amount of time that they spent together on the island alone, he was able to find the confidence in himself in order to be able to do this job in order to save his friends. He always felt that he was the least powerful of all of them, especially comparing himself to Jean. But he was able to show that he was able to keep her and himself alive for so long that he has that much confidence in himself and with the rest of his team in order to get the job done and save the rest of the X-Men. In another section of the island, Jean Grey has located where the X-Men are being held. So she's able to get past some of the security, if you want to say so, and is able to get to the main base. And she's able to open up an entry for herself to try and scan where all the X-Men is. But when she's able to get through and psychically connect to them and find their location, she's a little bit shocked on what she sees. And this huge cavern full of these pods and this tentacles of vines, and she is shocked at what she actually sees and not expecting what she actually was able to find. But she's not going to be able to be shocked for too long, as all of a sudden the Krakoa vines start to wrap around her and start to take her in. So with her last gasp before she is taken, she sends out a psychic blast in order to get the attention of somebody. And Cyclops is the one who gets to hear Jean's cries, and that gets him right back into the action as he's able to know exactly where Jean Grey is, and he's able to figure out what the next move is. So he gets the rest of the X-Men ready to go, and he gets his new plan set up, and he knows where to go next. Colossus, Storm, and Nightcrawler attack the base where Cyclops was able to get the reading of Jean Grey and the rest of the X-Men. Their purpose right now is to get themselves into that complex or into the holding place where the rest of the X-Men are and take out anything that gets in their way. Unfortunately, what got in their way are some of those dinosaur alien monster things that live on Krakoa. And so they're very hungry, they are very vicious. But you're also dealing with some of the best X-Men to ever live, so they get their chance to let loose a little bit. But unfortunately for them, they expect something unexpected when something comes out from under the ground, and some of the old residents of the people who have crash landed on Krakoa, and this one is actually pirates. And good news for Nightcrawler, he knows how to deal with pirates, since this has been his dream since he was a little child in order to be a swashbuckling pirate wrangler himself. So he grabs a couple swords and he goes ballistic. Cyclops is sneaking his way in order for the other mutant to be distracted by Colossus and the rest, so that he has a chance to rescue the X-Men. But what he finds is that the X-Men are all connected to Krakoa and are deathly ill. Cyclops is able to free Jean Grey when she gets to explain exactly what's been going on. There's not just one mutant that they're trying to find. The entire island is a mutant. Krakoa is a living, sentient creature. And for centuries, it's been absorbing the life force and the energies of people that have crash landed on the island. And this is the first time that it's actually been able to absorb the energies of mutants. So now that it's got a taste for what it could be possible, it's now on its way to floating itself to a mainland country in order to absorb a large population. Now this has become the new mission for the X-Men. Down below, Colossus and the rest are trying to get to them as much as they can, but now Krakoa is wise to what's going on and starts to capture the X-Men. But lo and behold, Wolverine is actually alive and he is on to the rescue as he unsheathes his claws for the very first time, now showing exactly what he's about. He's a great tracker, he has a healing factor, and he has his claws. So in order to do what he does best, he goes a little bit berserker rage and goes and frees the rest of the X-Men the only way he knows how. With the X-Men now freed, he is now trying to get themselves out of there as quickly as they can. With the help of the rest of the X-Men, they blow a hole through the cavern, and now they go to join the rest of the X-Men to help them with the stuff that's going down below. With all the creatures now taken care of, now the whole thing they have to do is try to get off the island. With the rest of the team now starting to get getting anxious, they're able to formulate a plan. And basically, they don't know where the Blackbird has been, so they actually have to split the team up in order to find the Blackbird and get it back into the air so that they can escape. But the rest of the team are now dealing with Krakoa now having a new phase as they start to see parts of the island start to form a giant alien-looking land monster. So now things just got a lot complicated. So the one part of the team stays to go and take care of Krakoa, while the other team goes to find where the Blackbird is so that they can escape. And this is a mad dash in order on two fronts in order to get the job done. So part of the team is now Cyclops and Havoc, Polaris, Jean Grey, Storm trying to battle Krakoa and take that out in order to get it up and out into the atmosphere so that it cannot get to the mainland. Because what can you do with an island that can float and move itself? You got to get it away from someplace that it can actually do any harm. So with all these powers combined, they shoot it up into space. But while they're still on the island trying to get it off there, the rest of the team is able to find the Blackbird and get them all on board before they get shot into space themselves. So they're able to get the jets going. They blast themselves away just in time for the island of Krakoa to actually get into the upper atmosphere and float off into space. With the team relatively back to normal, they're brought up to speed on everything that's been going on from Cyclops and the rest of the team, and they're now trying to formulate the next part of the plan. All they know is that Xavier is gone. They don't know where they're able to find him. So Jean Grey is able to play around and figure out exactly where they need to go next. And she has a bit of a plan. And the next phase of what they're going to be doing is actually flying out to the island that they think that Xavier would be most likely to go. And that would be Muir Island.
And with any Marvel movie, you gotta have that end of credit scene.
We arrive on the shores of Scotland, specifically Muir Island, in this medical facility. We get to go into the deep depths of some of the rooms where there's a highly secure building. Where it's housed is the mutant Kevin McTaggart, also known as the powerful telepath Proteus. We haven't seen this character in live action, and this is the introduction to him. And the person who is working with Proteus right now is the introduction of Professor Xavier. He has to halt his work with Proteus because he gets a feeling that some familiar faces have returned. And my choice for Professor Xavier would be cast as Colin Firth.
And that's it. That is how I would do the MCU X-Men. If you liked what you saw, please hit that like button. If you think I'm still full of crap and I don't know what I'm talking about, let me know down in the comments. This has been a lot of fun. I really hope I could do more of these kind of videos, but please let me know if you liked it as much as I was like doing them. So thank you guys so much. Please hit that subscribe button for more episodes of whatever I'm doing on YouTube. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.